This episode of Marijuana Today Daily is brought to you by MJ Today Media, publishers of this podcast, as well as our weekly title Marijuana Today and the excellent Green Rush podcast, as well as our new show Weed Wonks with Jordan and Andrew. Good morning, Marijuana Nation. It's Wednesday, September 18th, 2019, and you're tuned in to episode 800 of Marijuana Today Daily. I'm your host, Shay Gunther, and I'll be walking you through today's marijuana news and headlines. As always, we have a full and busy day of cannabis news in our hands, so let's jump right into it. We kick off the week's top stories out in Colorado, where the state's Department of Revenue released numbers yesterday showing that the retail price of wholesale marijuana to be up to $999 per pound, a rise from the $850 per pound average seen in July. Since Colorado is the nation's most mature adult use legal market in terms of both time and relative developments, I think it's noteworthy to track how retail cultivation pricing fares there. The rise in price to just under $1,000 per pound carries a bit more significance given the time of the year that it is, as there is a lot of cannabis being harvested right now in the Centennial State. CBS 4 Denver is reporting that the average wholesale price of trim is holding steady at $325 per pound. Moscow Mitch McConnell took some time away from plotting against all that is good and American this week to prod the Food and Drug Administration to speed up the development process of rules and regulations governing hemp-derived CBD. Senator Moscow Mitch is introducing language into legislation being worked on right now by the Senate Appropriations Subcommittee on Agriculture that will require the FDA to provide, within 90 days, a report to Congress on the work done to develop CBD regulation, and then 30 days after that to issue the actual regulations. You can swing over to Deb Borchart's piece on Green Market Report for more details here. As always, we have all the news we cover linked to on our website at mjtodaydaily.com. Maggie Cowie over at Marijuana Business Daily wraps up our top stories today with a charty look at how Maryland's medical marijuana industry has fared so far in 2019, as it's currently on record to double up the amount of business done in 2018. As of July of this year, Maryland's medical marijuana dispensaries saw just under $130 million in sales, whereas the state did just under $109 million in all last year. Maggie's chart of the week story helpfully shares that the state has, so far through July, sold 17,248 pounds of flower and more than 1.2 million units of infused products. There are currently 82 licensed dispensaries in Maryland, along with 16 cultivators and 17 processors, all serving just under 108,000 registered patients. Those are our top stories for today. It's time for Marijuana Today Daily Headlines Blitz. Before we blitz it on headlines, let's quickly thank our sponsor, MJ Today Media, which makes this podcast, our weekly flagship title, Marijuana Today, as well as the most excellent Green Rush podcast, and our newest show, the just-launched Weed Wonks, which we'll be talking about in more detail towards the end of the week. Today, I want to talk about the opportunity that we have for one last sponsor to join our sponsorship ranks. We have room enough in our calendar right now for one more substantial sponsor, which could be your company. We offer category exclusivity at a certain level and can help you reach the best audience in the business of legal marijuana with your marketing message. Lock down your sponsorship spot and keep out your competitors by emailing me today at shay@mjtodaymedia.com, with Shay spelled S-H-E-A. We have, by and large, the most listened to podcasts in the business, and our weekly show, Marijuana Today, is actually in the top 3% of all podcasts everywhere in terms of how many downloads we get. Tap into that today by zipping me an email. One more time, that's shay@mjtodaymedia.com. All right, time for the blitz. Utah state lawmakers just passed a piece of legislation expanding the number of licensed medical marijuana dispensaries to be opened in that new program, expected to launch sometime early next year. Lawmakers had earlier set a limit of just 10 dispensaries, but the new law just approved, though not yet signed by Governor Gary Herbert, will allow for 14. 8 to be given out in a first round, followed by another 7 in a second round, both of which need to be wrapped up by July 1st of 2020. Regulators would be able to add more licenses to that 14 should market demand prove strong enough. Ohio's nascent medical marijuana program did not receive very good marks from surveyed registered patients in a recent survey conducted by the Ohio State University Drug Enforcement Policy Center and the nonprofit organization Harm Reduction Ohio, which found that generally, Ohio patients thought their medical marijuana options to be too costly and dispensaries to be too far away to easily drive to. Half of the 640 patients surveyed characterized their level of satisfaction with the program as very unsatisfied, which is not good. One of the benefits of each U.S. state coming up with its own unique method for legalizing marijuana is that we get to see which states do it well and which states muck it up. Ohio is starting to look a little mucky. Tom Angel over at Marijuana Moment has a story up today with a pickup of a letter issued yesterday to Democratic House leaders in Washington, D.C., urging them to delay a planned vote on the Safe Banking Act, a proposed measure we've covered extensively that would lift federal prohibitions on banks and financial institutions from working with state legal marijuana. The group wants the vote delayed until the broader issues of social justice and equity within legal cannabis are addressed first. The group is made up of the American Civil Liberties Union, the Center for American Progress, the Drug Policy Alliance, Human Rights Watch, the Leadership Conference on Civil and Human Rights, and Just Leadership USA. The letter reminds House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer that, quote, the Congress has a unique opportunity to address the myriad injustices created by this nation's marijuana laws, unquote, before pressing for the need for comprehensive cannabis legislation that addresses social justice issues. You can read the letter in full yourself over in Tom's Marijuana Moment story. A state lawmaker in Michigan said he will soon introduce a bill to blunt the recently announced executive order by Governor Gretchen Whitmer that seeks a ban on the sale of flavored nicotine vaporizers. State Representative Beau Lefebvre said that his bill would negate Governor Whitmer's executive order, which he says was an overreach of power. Tom Angel's back with another headline, this time in his capacity as a writer over at Forbes, where he covers the progress of the Senate version of the Safe Banking Act, which we touched on in Tom's other story today. On Monday, Democratic Senator Tina Smith of Minnesota signed on as a co-sponsor of the Senate version of the Safe Banking Act, the 33rd senator to do so. Of course, the U.S. Senate is controlled at the moment by the corrupt and criminal GOP, so there's no telling exactly how that will all play out, even if Moscow Mitch has shown himself to be a little hemp-friendly. Tom's story is worth a full dive in here, as they usually are. During an interview on Sunday, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo hinted that his administration could seek a ban on the smoking of marijuana as legal adult use reform is pursued next year, saying that there were other ways to get THC that don't involve smoking or vaping. As Kyle Yeager over Marijuana Moment points out in his story, it's not clear if Governor Cuomo is actually going to put forth legislation banning vaping and smoking, especially given the fact that smoking and vaping are how the vast majority of legal cannabis is consumed. So this one has to be added to the list of storylines to watch. And finally for today, Bruce is back. Former Canopy Growth CEO Bruce Linton, pushed out of his job just in July as co-CEO of the most highly capitalized legal marijuana company on the planet, has announced 3 different new cannabis initiatives as he's taking on the role of executive chairman of Michigan-based company Gage Cannabis, while also personally investing $185,000 into Canadian company Slang Worldwide and joining the board of advisors of Florida-based CBD company Better Choice. Those are the headlines and news for the day. I'll be back with you again tomorrow morning with another information-packed episode of Marijuana Today Daily. But in the meantime, if you have any stories to share or feedback to give, zip us an email to headlines@mjtodaydaily.com. And while you're clicking around the interwebs, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com to find links to all the news we cover. Thanks to our sponsor, MJ Today Media, and to all of our awesome Patreon listeners for the support that makes this show possible. To join the lesser ranks of the Patreon listeners yourself, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com and click on that big blue button at the top of the page that says Become a Patron. I'm your host, Shay Gunther. Thanks for tuning in and starting your day with marijuana today.
One take, Shay. One take.